gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here. And as you can see, I got a new microphone headset. Hopefully this works a little better than the one I've been using since Taz kind of chewed it up a bit. Anyways, we have quite a good flick tonight we're going to look at. It's brought to us by Dan Curtis. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Dan Curtis, he gave us the 60s cult soap opera phenomena Dark Shadows, which he then also parlayed into two feature films, House of Dark Shadows and Night of Dark Shadows. Around that time, he did some more TV films, like he did both The Night Stalker and its follow up, The Night Strangler, although he was not associated with the uh, spin off show Kolchak, The Night Stalker. He and Darren McGavin never really got along. He also gave us a Trilogy of Terror, which gave us one of the most infamous segments in TV horror history, the Zuni doll segment. If you remember that one, Karen Black gets chased around by an animated Zuni doll. He also did follow up, Dead of Night. They were all based on stories by uh, Richard Matheson. Uh, he also did the feature film Burnt Offerings, and was behind the Dark Shadows revamp in the 80s. And because he didn't want to remember it as just a horror guy, he gave us the majorly popular and critically acclaimed miniseries Winds of War and War and Remembrance, which were based on the writings of Herman Wouk. Now, playing in our film, we have quite a cast. We have Roy Thinnis as our star, a very prolific TV actor. He was a regular in the early days of General Hospital in the 60s. He also starred in the TV series Long Hot Summer, based on the film, with starred Paul Newman. Probably his best remembered show that he starred in was The Invaders, a sort of sci-fi takeoff on The Fugitive, in which a man knows there are alien invaders on Earth and is trying to warn people and is always on the run. And he also was a regular on The Psychiatrist, kind of a self-explanatory show about people with mental problems and him being a psychiatrist trying to help them. Some of his film work included such TV movies as The Other Man, Horror at 37,000 Feet, The Manhunter, another TV pilot that didn't sell, codenamed Diamond Head, sort of a undercover cop kind of show based in Hawaii. So, you already got Hawaii 5-0. It was doubtless that this would also get sold, but it's not a bad film, especially if you catch the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version. And probably his best known film, uh, Satan's School for Girls. Oh, and in the 80s, he was part of the Dark Shadows reboot. Uh, we also have Angie Dickinson. Uh, she, we all know Angie Dickinson, right? You don't? Well, she played opposite John Wayne in Rio Bravo, opposite Frank Sinatra in Ocean's 11, opposite Lee Marvin in both The Killers, the 60s version, and Point Blank, the first adaptation of a Parker novel. He was also in the proto slasher Pretty Maids All in a Row with Rock Hudson and Telly Savalas. And in the 80s, she was in Dressed to Kill, Brian De Palma's pastiche on Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. She's the one that dies halfway through the film. And Death Hunt, a reuniting with Lee Marvin, in which it was set in the Alaska wilderness, and she's only in the early part of the film. Uh, like it says, it's a death hunt. It's a fugitive being chased through the wilds of the Klondike. But she's probably best known from a one-off she did on the anthology crime show Police Story, which got spun off into the very popular Police Woman. She was on that for a good 5, 6 years. As our sheriff, we have Claude Akins, and it is his casting here, along with the plot of this film and the fact that it is an investigator who narrates, has quite a few similarities to The Night Stalker, which, as we said before, was done by Dan Curtis. He was a regular on 3 shows. He had a starring role in the trucker drama Moving On. He was a recurring villain on the trucker comedy action show BJ and the Bear, which got parlayed into a comedy show, The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo, which unfortunately in its second season became a comedy action show set in Atlanta, Georgia, instead of the small town where he originally ran things. His film work includes Rio Bravo with Angie Dickinson. He played the one that got put in jail and is basically the focus of the whole plot. He was also in The Killers with Angie Dickinson. As mentioned, The Night Stalker. He played the guerrilla antagonist in the final Planet of the Apes film, Battle for the Planet of the Apes. He was in the Star-Studded Tentacles, which was an Italian knockoff of Jaws, only with sharks, and had a big name cast of John Huston, Glenn Ford, Cesar Denova, Shelley Winters. He was also in Tarantulas, The Deadly Cargo, Monster in the Closet, which is a comedy horror film about a monster that hides in people's closets. It's by Troma. Who else would have done it? And The Curse, which was an adaptation of The Color Out of Space by H.P. Lovecraft. We also have Don Porter, who was a Universal alumnus, having been in their crime club film, Mystery of the White Room, as well as 2 of their later horror films, Night Monster and She-Wolf of London, as well as the Abbott and Costello comedy Who Done It. In the 60s, he played Gidget's father in Gidget Goes to Rome, at which point he also essayed the same role to Sally Field's TV version of Gidget. We also have Vanetta McGee, who you may remember from our review of Blackula. She played Luva and Tina, Blackula's love. She was also in the Fred Williamson film Hammer, the final Shaft film, Shaft in Africa, Clint Eastwood's espionage film Eiger Sanction, and the sci-fi cult classic Repo Man. And rounding out our cast, we have Kurt Hatfield, best known for one of his early starring roles, The Picture of Dorian Gray, which featured both Donna Reed and Angela Lansbury, as well as everybody's favorite debonair cad, George Sanders. He was also in Destination Murder, Tarzan and the Slave Girl, Paul Newman's Left-Handed Gun about Billy the Kid, Prince of Peace, El Cid, back during the religious epics era, as well as King David and the Boston Strangler, the biopic starring Glenn Ford and Tony Curtis as the Strangler. Well, we open up our Night Stalker knockoff with our hero, David Norliss, calling his publisher very upset.
Okay, well, what about the carnelian room for lunch tomorrow? It's no good. I have to see you now.
Monday, Dave. You know what Monday's, all right? Why not tomorrow?
Tomorrow might be too late.
Sounds rather distraught. Apparently, they had paid him a big advance the year before to write a book debunking supernatural things and psychics and stuff. And all he'll say is he went in too deep, or got in too deep, or something. Then he doesn't show up for the meeting. Doesn't answer his phone. Publisher contacts his lawyer. The lawyer's like, oh, you know how writers are, but sure, I'll look into it.
Nobody knows where David is. Nobody's seen him. He's just gone.
Are you sure?
We checked every possible source. Everything conceivable.
It seems incredible.
Did you catch it? I'll show you the key sequence again.
We checked every possible...
Apparently they did a little bit of guerrilla filming there and didn't tell anyone they were making a movie. So you got one guy looking at the camera. Anyway, next the publisher goes to check David's beachfront house. He's not there. He's searching around stuff. He does find a series of tapes that David had mentioned.
We have a title! Yes. We have a title, yes!
And here we come to what I consider a major problem. The whole point is he's disappeared. Ostensibly, from a logical point of view, it would be something he's uncovered recently. That being the case, wouldn't you start with the last tape, not the first tape? Of course, if you did that, you wouldn't have a TV show. Since they didn't have a TV show anyways. It's a minor quibble, I admit, but for me, it's something that always sticks with me. Anyways, here we learn about, let's see, what is her name? Ellen Court. Now, he starts the tape with mentioning some debunking he's done on mediums and fortune tellers and such. And then we get to the thing of Ellen Court, whose husband was a artist who had recently died. And she had a strange incident when her dog kept trying to get her attention, and they ended up at his old studio. I would have expected nothing less from Pepper Anderson. Or, Angie Dickinson. Anyways, she calls police. Police show up. No one's there. Except for that dog. And the sheriff chalks it up to a migrant hobo or something. Broke in to steal something or get out of the rain. And is probably off somewhere in the woods dying. Or just off in the woods. She must have missed him. Her sister Marcia happens to be an old flame of Norliss. So, of course, she gets him to have a meeting with Norliss. And he has to admit, she sounds like she's telling the truth. So, yeah, he'll look into it for her. While that's happening, and he prepares to go to the village he shows up at, we have an incident with a shop girl heading home whose name is Peggy.
I've had worse.
Oh, that looked vicious. Luckily for the girl, a trucker passing by sees the accident. I wonder what happened to her. Well, the sheriff Headley shows up. Hartley shows up and takes one look at her and does a complete lockdown on all info. He doesn't want this getting out and causing a panic. Then he gets the coroner to hurry up on an autopsy. And where else are you going to have your results given to you but at the golf course?
What?
The cause of death was strangulation. But from the depth of the indentation marks in her neck, it seems that the murderer must have possessed exceptional strength.
Okay, now I know she was strangled. What I want to find out is what else was done to her.
The sallow skin cast and the collapsed sac-like appearance of the body was a direct result of a total evacuation of all the main arteries.
I don't know what that means either. Could you put that in layman terms?
I'll make it simple for you. The girl's body was totally drained of blood.
Oh, it's a vampire. Okay. I don't know if it's a big enough cross, but it's all I got. Well, of course, the sheriff wants to put the lid down tight on that. Norliss arrives in town, goes to talk to the sheriff, who poo-poos the whole dead husband thing. And Norliss starts asking about the murdered girl, but why do you think there's a connection between that? He doesn't know. It's just two strange incidences happening so close together, but sheriff is rather uncooperative. So he then heads to the estate of the, what's their name again? The court estate, where they go to look in the crypt.
Now you don't believe me, do you?
Is only mostly dead.
Being a good journalist, he puts away all prejudices or judgments and just wants to get through all the facts. Now, while they had been talking, we learned that Cord had gotten ill from a terminal disease that could not be operated on, and had gotten into some occult and supernatural interests, where he had met a Mrs. Jackiel, who gave him a very interesting ring. Now, the ring is connected to Osiris, an Egyptian god of immortality. Sure. When you're desperate, you'll do things like that. Also, after his death, his art dealer named where is it? Langston called to not only buy all of Cord's statues, but also wanted that ring. Well, she wouldn't sell it to him. Now, it was his last wish to be buried with the ring, so she did, but she didn't tell Langston that. Intrigued, Norliss heads up to Sacramento to talk to Langston.
What about that ring he got from her? You know anything about that?
Apparently it's from Egypt. It's very ancient. Known to collectors of antique jewelry as the Osiris scarab. The beetle, as you know, is a symbol of immortality. And there are rumors that the Osiris scarab is a life ring, capable of granting restorative powers to its wearer.
Of course, that's just myth and legend, and Langston doesn't believe in any of that stuff, which then brings up the obvious question: why'd you want to buy it so bad?
I deal in antique art and objects, Mr. Norliss. This ring is such an object. It has a fascination for those of us who are connoisseurs. So certainly I should like to own the Osiris scarab.
At this point, Norliss makes a bit of a strategic blunder. Or was it?
You see, Mr. Court's will declared that the ring should be buried with him. It's now on his finger in the family crypt.
How curious.
No points for guessing what he's going to do. Oof. Well, kind of asked for that, don't you think? The next day, Norliss goes to talk to Mrs. Jackiel, who is rather uncooperative, though she does give this bit of advice.
Look, I'm gonna tell you something. You stay away from that place. Stay away from the whole Court estate.
Why?
It's the house of Sargoth.
What?
Do you know who Sargoth is? No. Let's see. Sargoth. I'll have to look that up. Meanwhile, Norliss heads back to the estate. Well, Ellen is at a local inn. Doesn't want her staying there all alone. All the servants have left because of all the craziness going on. So he picks her up and they go back to the studio where they make a shocking new discovery.
I wasn't here the other day.
I know.
You sure he didn't start this just before he died?
No. This isn't his. It's not like his work. Look at the face.
But wait, there's more.
Man, this clay.
What about it?
It's still damp. Someone's still working on this thing.
Mystery's getting deeper. Alright, I'll stop. Well, I think it's time we got a little action in this flick.
Tis but a scratch.
I'll say he did take a shotgun to the chest earlier. You know what this scene needs? A little monster versus car action.
All right, we'll call it a draw.
Well, that was a pretty harrowing experience. They go to the police. Sheriff is skeptical as usual, although you really can't explain how the car door got torn off. They go back to the estate, find no one there, but the crypt is empty. New theory? Someone stole the body and is pretending to be Court. Pretty good theory. Meanwhile, Norliss heads out to do some research and get that clay examined. Unbeknownst to them at this time, Ellen's sister Marcia has returned from her trip to New York, found the estate empty, it being the pouring rain, goes to a small little Bates Motel type establishment, and well, I think we can guess what happens. Now, the owner of the place sees her being carried off by Court. Let's just call a spade, Court. And calls the sheriff, who, of course, wants this kept under wraps until they find the girl. Meanwhile, Norliss the next day gives Ellen the things he's found out.
These blueprints I've been looking at show some very curious construction that went on back in the 20s. Seems the people who originally owned the place built a series of underground tunnels.
Why would anybody want to build tunnels?
Well, during Prohibition, they probably stored guns and liquor.
Bootlegging. Now we're getting somewhere. Anything else?
Clay in the sculpture. I just got the chemical analysis back. The clay is 40% human blood.
I knew it. He's not a vampire. He's using it for his artwork. Well, Norliss starts working on some chemical for a reason I'm sure will be explained later. And while he's doing that, Mrs. Court gets visited by Mrs. Jekyll.
The ring would allow him the power to rise from his coffin to work on a figure of Sargoth. Once the sculpture's finished, it'll have a physical form in which to enter our world. And in return for bestowing life to Sargoth, Jim Court will be granted immortality.
Pretty heavy stuff. But what can they do?
His powers take effect after sundown. If we can reach him by sunset, we can remove the ring from his finger.
Oh, is that all? Why do these things always have to be such split-second stuff? Why couldn't they just remove it while middle of the day? Oh well. They leave a note for Norliss and then head back to the estate where apparently Jekyll knows exactly where the tunnels are. So they enter the tunnels to look for Court. While Norliss is being driven apoplectic as he heads for the estate while being behind apparently me. Yes, I am that bad a driver. Anyway, while he's dealing with that, they find the coffin and proceed to remove the ring.
Hurry!
Well, kind of saw that coming. Ellen tries to get away, but unfortunately she trips. Oh, man. What a horrible way to find out your sister's dead. Well, luckily Norliss arrives in time to get her away from Court, and they head back to this studio, where Norliss thinks he can end this.
It's almost finished.
Everything but the eyes.
Now, Ellen is all for destroying it, because once the eyes are completed, it'll come alive. Norliss doesn't think so, or doesn't want to do that. It has to be completed first, and then we find out what that concoction he was making is.
Making a blood circle. According to medieval alchemy, you can enter a blood circle, but if it's on fire, you can't get out.
No, I don't think blood's flammable. Must have added something to it. Well, they hide, and Cord shows up to finish the sculpture. I think that's your cue there, David. Not a big struggle here. No big man, demon fight. They just watch them burn. And then, of course, the climax, or denouement.
I tried to explain it all to Sheriff Hartley, but he couldn't accept it. The next morning, they found the bones of a man in the ashes, the remains of James Raymond Court, and of the demon Sargoth, they found nothing.
Was that place filled with paint thinner? Jeez. Thing went up like... Anyway, I guess that about... oh, you're right. Sorry. Doesn't quite end there. Remember, this was a pilot for a proposed series, so we have an epilogue.
Sargoth. Strange name. I wonder if he was truly destroyed. Or could he be the key to David's disappearance? Well, maybe this will tell me.
And then the credits start playing over a silent shot of him listening to whatever the next tape was. You hear like the first sentence or two, kind of the setup for the proposed series, which unfortunately never happened. Sorry, I think I'm getting a cold. As 70s TV films go, this one's excellent. It's a really, really good setup for a proposed series. And unfortunately, it ends a little too open-ended for a standalone film. But as is, not bad. A little too much time set on with the setup at the beginning. Considering this was like a short film. It was made to fit into an hour and a half time slot, so they probably could have skipped a lot of that early part and just gotten into the meat of the story about the dead sculptor. Excellent cast. You know, Dennis is good as the hero. He played heroes a lot, very well. Although, personally, I think his villain in Satan's School for Girls was one of his best performances. He had a knack for charming, sinister people. Anyways, of course, Don Porter doesn't do much, but he's basically just the person to bookend episodes in this film. Angie Dickinson, well, what can you say? She does scream a bit, but I like that opening where she shoots her dead husband without a second thought. killed her dog. Todd Akins is okay. It's a pretty standard performance for him, playing a haphazard sheriff who just wants to keep things quiet, so it doesn't, sort of like the mayor in Jaws, or his character from The Night Stalker. Hi. And again, as with Monique, is it Monique? Vanetta McGee. She doesn't have a lot to do, but she gets some good dialogue scenes there towards the end. A little slow paced, but then it's a mystery. And it's an intriguing enough mystery. Although the similarity to The Night Stalker is a detriment to it, because it has a bit of a feeling of been there, done that. That may have been why it didn't go over to series, although it had a better setup than Kolchak, the Night Stalker series did, where he just kept running into different things in Chicago. Where here, this guy's traveling, investigating those kinds of incidences that he finds. So it had better setup. And some good actions. That scene with the battle with the car was good. And climax is over a little quickly. Appears, boom, trapped, dead. Takes like a minute. Would have liked a little longer there. But still, all in all, good effort. Solid. I think I originally caught this on a late night showing. Per usual. As a lot of TV movies became in the 80s. They'd hit syndication. You'd see them all the time on your local horror host show. But yeah, excellent cast. Excellent performances. Decent effects for the time. And just all around solid effort. Well, that's all for this one. Next week I'll be hopefully getting a April Fool's comedy ready. Till then, hit share and like, and stay after the credits for my favorite scene.